Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. Happy Friday. Today is Good Friday if you celebrate Good Friday. Blessings to everybody. I'm very excited to have this young man on the show. David Atkinson is with us with Zsphere, which is myzsphere.com. That's scrolling across the bottom. We're going to talk about smart, sustainable living and so much more. David and his team and their company are just doing great things in the world and have plans to do great more. And we're going to learn all about it here on the TED Show. Welcome. How you doing, my friend?
Thank you, Ted. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much.
Super excited when we have to give a shout out, of course, to our mutual friend, Candace Griffin, for bringing us together. She's absolutely amazing and has a heart of gold, and she doesn't get enough credit for that. So we're both going to give you a big shout out, Candace. We were talking about how you keep us in line, and that's okay. I need to be kept in line. All right. So before we get to myzsphere.com, Zsphere, and all of the great things that you're doing, people love to know the origin story. They want to know the journey. How did David get from point A to point B? So share with us. Give us a little 411 on your background.
Certainly, Ted. Thank you. So, as my team is fond of reminding me, I could literally go on for hours. So I'm going to give everybody the Cliff Notes version here. So this is a story of I'm like most inventors. This is something where over 10 years ago, I went to bed one night and then I woke up the next morning, and literally all of the schematics, the design, everything was in here. It was like I had a big download. And so then what I did was I took to task, because I understood that came from somewhere special, right? Obviously.
Yes. Right.
And then what I understood is, based on my background and my expertise and my experience over the years, I quickly came to understand that's why I was shown the Zsphere, is because I'm the guy that has those capabilities and that diverse background to be able to bring it all together.
What is the diverse background? Tell them a little bit.
So I believe it or not, for those of you that have ever watched the show Deadliest Catch, I grew up a commercial fisherman. In fact,
No way.
Oh yeah, I spent the first 25 years of my life
Wow.
in a family business, commercial fishing on the Great Lakes, which frankly is much more treacherous even than the North Sea.
People don't believe this, but it's true.
They don't. There's more shipwrecks on the bottom of Lake Michigan than anywhere in the world.
Crazy.
And so I grew up a commercial fisherman. My dad made it very clear to me early on in life, you're not going to be a commercial fisherman for the rest of your life. So I got into information technology, and I spent roughly the last 30 years there of my life. And so the beauty about my background and experience is, think of me as a complex systems guy. I understand all the inner workings of everything end to end, whether it's a natural ecosystem or a complex computer system where, you have a display on your phone. Well, there's a lot of backdoor, inner workings that you never get exposed to. I understand all of that, all the way down to the power that makes those things run. And
amazing, because I still don't know what happens when I turn on the TV or how that works.
So I'm very blessed in that respect, because it gives me a lot of insight in terms of really understanding the complexities, frankly, of the challenge that we face around the world that's changing so rapidly in front of us, right? And so that's my background, right? I've got some engineering background. I got a lot of finance and economics, and certainly the technology doesn't hurt. And so
you've got all sides of the brain working.
Yes, and you know what? The first and foremost, I have to thank my team. If I didn't have the team around me, I could not, especially my dear wife, I couldn't do any of what I'm doing without them. So first of all, thank you, team.
Yeah, I love it when people express gratitude on the show. That's awesome.
I wouldn't be here without them. So thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. We've got a brand new, exciting, it's one thing to hear about new and exciting things, but I'm here to tell you that we are on the ground. We're really making waves, and
what you're doing is life-changing. And before you get into the nitty-gritty of it, because I think it's so important for people to understand the basics, sustainability is a word it's a big buzzword, right? It gets thrown around. I would bet you that if you ask most people, their definitions would either be different or they'd look at you with a blank stare. They've heard it, but they don't actually understand it. So can you give us some basics on what sustainability even means and maybe why it's important?
I can. Thank you, Ted. So first and foremost, our team and our mission is to literally redefine sustainability. Because as you said, it is thrown around out there. And I'm here to tell you that no matter what anybody says about all the conventional systems and this, that, and the other thing that we have out there, none of it is sustainable. I'm here to tell you, none of it is sustainable. So being the complex systems guy that I am and the economics background that I have, I know the realities of how the rubber meets the road and how it gets paid for. And so that is imperative for people to understand that this ideas are fantastic, but it's all about their execution and being able to effectively implement something that creates value for people. And that's all I've done for the last 10 years is aggressively work on something that is going to deliver incredible amounts of value to our clients, as well as redefine sustainability. And what I mean by that, and I'll just give you a quick study.
That'd be good.
So everyone may or may not have heard of a little town in Florida called Mexico Beach, Florida. It was ravaged by Hurricane Michael a couple of years ago. Excuse me, Ted. I'm suffering.
You're good. You're good.
Thank you.
That's what's great about live TV is it doesn't matter, brother. You're all good.
Pardon me, please. So the horrible thing about my Mexico Beach and Hurricane Michael is about 80% of the town and municipality was literally wiped off the map and scraped clean. And so Mexico Beach more or less is starting from scratch. And thank you for all of the municipality, the people in the municipality. They got their water up and running very quickly. Thank you to all the linemen and all the power company folks that got them back powered up and everything else. We wouldn't be, it would be a completely different world without them. So thank you so much for doing that. And so the reason I bring up Mexico Beach is I spent a lot of time there as a child. I actually grew up on the beach as a child. And so I understand the pristine beauty and the value of the municipality and the economics that flow through there and everything else. So what Zsphere does is we create a platform, whether you're a business or a municipality or even just a homeowner. What I've done is I've literally created a building platform that is fully resilient to 99% of the natural disasters that are thrown at us. And what I mean by that is not only is the building and the structure, flood proof, flood resilient, hurricane resilient, tornado resilient, et cetera. And I say resilient because it's really, there are going to be anomalies at some point in the future that no one can anticipate. So I really can't say proof. I'd love to say proof, and I believe we're going to demonstrate that we are more or less proof. But at the end of the day, Mother Nature, we're naive to think that we can conquer Mother Nature. But I tell you what we're doing is exponentially above and beyond what anybody has even considered doing to date. And so having a resilient structure is important. In fact, there was a CNN interview that was done with a father and a son, and they had built more or less, they had overbuilt a beach home in Mexico Beach, and it actually survived. Okay.
Wow.
Right. And kudos to them for doing it. But here's what no one talks about. And I encourage you to go watch that interview. Here's what no one talks about. Okay, the building is great, but what happens if you don't have fresh water, you don't have power, and you don't have working toilets? It really stinks to go weeks without a working toilet, right? Having to go in an outhouse or,
literally,
or whatever,
literally.
Right? So what we've done at Zsphere is we have literally brought all of those things into the sphere and integrated those systems to be as resilient as the structure, so that as you're experiencing a hurricane or a tornado or whatever it is, you're literally going to have all of those essentials before, during, and immediately after the event. So think of us as we are delivering true sustainability and continuity of life and business. That's what we do.
All right, I've got so many questions, as you can imagine, and so does the audience. So are the structure, so talk about the structure. So is this something, let's say somebody, because Puerto Rico is, Candace has brought this up many times, so I want to make sure that we talk about that. Maybe that'll be a real world example of how this works, because I know we've had people before we went live, they're like, okay, so do I buy one like the old bomb shelters, if you're old enough to know what that is? Do we get it beforehand? It's a preventative thing. What's the thought process behind it?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, over 10 years, I did a lot of research into the bomb shelter business, the buried, underground shelter business, et cetera, et cetera. Companies like Safe Sheds that have saved a tremendous amount of lives in the Midwest, through tornadoes. Thank you for that. And people out there trying to do, really good things for people in terms of saving lives, right? And saving investment. So think of a Zsphere as a complete departure from that. So the Zsphere is intended to be your primary residence, office, whatever it may be. So you're going to have a very normal experience in terms of your everyday essentials, right? In fact, the interior of the Sphere looks a lot like a conventional home or business, et cetera, but just know that inside during an event, you're going to be safe, right? I don't care if the wind's blowing 200 miles an hour sustained outside, you're going to be safe. And that's what's important. The other things that we've done is we've got a very special building. And what we've done is when I talk about disaster resiliency across the spectrum, I'm talking about earthquakes, I'm talking about fires, I'm talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wow. All the stuff that Mother Nature throws at us. And a lot of the reason we're able to do that is because of our building, it's actually spherical in shape, which is incredibly wind resilient. But not only that, the way that we attach to the ground, so I'm very sensitive to the ecology because of my upbringing, being a fisherman and everything else. I've seen ecologies and how fragile and how valuable they are. So it was really important to me to have minimal impact on our ecology. So when we go in and build a sphere, we don't do like conventional builders do. We don't go in and scrape off the topsoil and disrupt the ecosystem or any of that. We literally go in and we put 5 footings in place for our sphere, and then we build on top of those 5 footings and don't disturb that natural ecology.
Wow.
Right? And so if you look at my home and how we've done that, all of the trees immediately adjacent our home are still there. We wanted to preserve as much of the ecology as we could, and because of the way that the Zsphere is designed, we can. And so we got beautiful views, and it's a great environment.
So I have to ask, so I'm thinking, so bear with me. These are lots of questions, and actually I can't take credit for them because now that I'm thinking about it, I think other people ask them. Sure. So would you purchase this as you would purchase a home, or do you Zsphere up the current structure? You start all over as if I'm buying a Zsphere and that's my home and or my business, depending on what the purchase is.
You bet. Thank you for that question, Ted. So the Zsphere is your home. It's not something where you can retrofit or anything like that. In fact, the reason we've gone to Puerto Rico for several reasons. And
let's talk about that.
Quick example. We've gone to Puerto Rico because the poor people of Puerto Rico, first of all, effectively my entire team is native Puerto Rican. And the thing that I love about the island of Puerto Rico is the people. There's no one on the planet that is more sincere and devoted and committed to the welfare of their fellow islanders and the like than them. And so I fell in love with the Puerto Rican people first and foremost. And come hell or high water, based on all the devastation and everything that's happened there over the last few years, there's political challenges, and frankly, the government gets in the way a lot. But the people of Puerto Rico are ready for a change. And the reason we're there is we are going to bring them legitimate change. And Ted, we're doing it. We're starting off in the municipal arena and the commercial arena, because for every sphere that we implement there, we're starting off with emergency command centers, by the way.
Understood.
So during an emergency, the mayor's staff, the emergency personnel, the critical staff, they need somewhere safe to operate from so that they can coordinate logistics and everything else to make sure the people in the municipality are getting what they need. So we're starting there. That allows us to have a positive impact on tens of thousands of people. If we go out and we do a residence, we're only affecting, a handful of people, maybe a dozen. But if we go the municipal route first, we can have a positive impact there. That's where we're starting for obvious reasons. And then we will slowly get into the residential space over the next 18 to 24 months. Now, that's not to say we're not going to do a resilient community here and there. And the Zsphere is, frankly, it's not something where you're going to, if you have a home that's wiped out in the middle of a residential neighborhood, you're not going to put a Zsphere there because the HOA is never going to allow you to build it there. This is something
enough, my friend. Yes, I was thinking HOA. Completely.
Right. This is something where if you have a remote piece of property and you have a friendly, planning, zoning and planning, county, whatever else, absolutely you're going to be able to do it there. If you live in the Keys, for example, and you've got, a beautiful place there that's been destroyed by a hurricane that comes through, call us, right? We're gonna evaluate your situation and see if we can't put a Zsphere on there for you. That's not only going to be disaster resilient, but we can also empower you with resilient utilities as well, so that frankly you got a safe space. Monroe County, I got to give them a lot of credit. Monroe County, Florida, for those of you that don't know,
that's the Keys, guys.
Monroe County is all the Keys.
Yeah.
Monroe County took the brave step of basically saying, we want our residents to stay. You do not have to participate in the FEMA buyback program to actually, so you can move. You love the Keys. We want you to stay here. We're going to work with them. We're going to figure out how to create an environment where they're going to be safe and they can enjoy the beauty of the Keys.
And I was thinking, you mentioned fire. So immediately my brain went to the unfortunate loss of so many lives in the wildfires out west. And the first responders, there was no place for them to safely go. And many of them got caught up in the fires because there was no escape. Imagine if fires are also included in this whole protection part. Wow. Command centers.
Yes.
The sky's the limit on the utilization of the Zsphere and the protection of lives. And people don't understand that if the whole government, if the people who are trying to save you get caught up and can't save you, then the loss of life and loss of property goes up so much higher. And so if you have your officials, your people who are trying to save you, safe in an environment where they can still command and get things done, I mean, it's life-changing when it comes to a natural disaster. It's just the uses are unbelievable to me.
It is. And as you can imagine, one of our greatest challenges was narrowing our focus to the point where we were focused on a few use cases to get started with, because there are literally over 100 use cases for the Zsphere. And to your point, Ted, around fire and firefighter safety. So I have a lot of first responders and law enforcement in my family and my extended family. And so one of the things that we're working on right now, and it won't be available for another year or so, the Zsphere, we have three models. We have a 20-foot, so think a big tiny home. We have a 30-foot, which is good for your average family, and then we have a 40-foot, which is great for commercial space and a larger home, and other applications like schools and things like that. So the 20-foot and the 30-foot they're lightweight. They're lightweight to the point, we secure them to the ground. They're not going to blow away or anything like that. But they're lightweight enough, and we are working on a base that allows us to work with first responders in different geographies to where they can actually helicopter lift the sphere and actually put it in a place where if firefighters get overrun, they're literally going to have a safe refuge.
Right.
The fire passes, firefighters come out, they continue to fight the fire. The helicopter comes back and repositions it for the next time.
Wow.
So those are the kind of special applications that we're working on. Another application.
It's all life state. I mean, I think that people, one of the questions we have before we went live was, okay, so how do we get this in every city, town, beach, where all the fires are, where the natural disasters tend to, or it seems like they tend to hit more often?
Yes. It's going to take us time. And the way that we've structured our go-to-market is we are going to go to the places. Puerto Rico, frankly, needs it the most right now because they have gone over 2 years with no meaningful advancement in restoration of essential services. And frankly, the people are very frustrated. I can't blame them whatsoever. Sure. And people are very motivated and compelled to change. We have made significant progress there. Thank you to all the mayors, the very few that had the vision and the courage to support us and work with us on sharing our vision. We are going to make a definitive difference for you here in the very near future. They are going to be the pioneers and the leaders that everyone else is going to mimic and copy on making Puerto Rico a truly a model and a beacon for resiliency and sustainability moving forward.
All right, so we're running out of time. Actually, I told you we'd go over. I had no doubt in my mind. Tons of questions, so I want people to be able to reach you. What's the best way for people to find out more about Zsphere? Maybe reach out to you, your team. You've got obviously a very energetic and amazing team that really want to get the message out, and we all do, because this is life-changing and it's community-changing, which of course I'm a big believer in. You change people, then the community and the whole world changes with you. So what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, the best way to reach us, and feel free to email me directly at david@myzsphere.com. And we are doing a lot of things. So there are multiple ways for people to participate and get engaged with us. And I encourage you to reach out to me. I'm one of those executives that it really matters to me, customer service and my ability to provide an outstanding level of customer experience for our clientele is paramount. So please feel free to reach out to me directly.
I'll go to myzsphere.com, reach out to David. I'll put you in touch. I have the emails, and he is just as awesome and as accessible as he's saying here, because honestly, the way that this works best is letting people know and educating them on it. And the uses for it, my mind is blown. Really, and I'm sure you've thought about it, so I'm just beginning to think about it. Thank you for what you guys do. It is just going to be, I am so excited to see how this progresses over time. As you know, whether you believe in global warming or don't, our storms are getting stronger, tornadoes are getting stronger, earthquakes, hurricanes, our weather patterns and our natural disasters seem to be on the rise from a strength perspective. Starting earlier in the Caribbean with hurricanes, we have a lot of weather changes that are impacting us. And then the storms are stronger than they've ever been recorded many times. So we're seeing a lot of things change. We need answers, and this is definitely an answer. So thank you, David. Thank you to your team. Thanks to Zsphere. And of course, thanks Candace Griffin for bringing us together. You all reach out to David. I know you're excited because you told me you were before you went live. Let's get out and support him. Thank you, my friend, for being on the show. It was awesome.
Thank you so much, Ted.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Happy Friday.